before, this film really does stand on the shoulders of Inconvenient Truth from 10 years ago, and we'd love to bring out our executive producers now, but the original producers of that film, Davis Guggenheim. Are you in the house?
And the director, Davis Guggenheim. Come on up. Come on up.
Director of the original film, Lawrence Bender. Lesley Chilcott and Scott Burns. These guys were our guides all the way through this.
You guys, you don't get to stand in the dark. Come up here.
Keep going. Laurie David.
Where's Laurie David?
Leslie.
All the way on here.
Scott,
Leslie.
And Laurie. And of course.
And of course, really the person without whom any of this could be possible is who really began the whole movement by starting Participant Media, Jeff Skoll.
And last but not least, in terms of the crew on this film, our intrepid producers, Richard Berge and Diane Weyermann, who we would not have survived without, and our creative partners on this mission.
And can we bring up our leading man, the former Vice President, Al Gore?
Thank you. Thank you all very much for coming to this. And Bob Redford, thank you so much for what you've created here at Sundance. It is absolutely amazing. And Jeff Skoll for creating Participant, which is a unique company that awakens the conscience of the world on so many great issues. And I want to go through and thank absolutely everyone up here, but Bonni Cohen and John Shenk have done an amazing job. Members of my family are here. My business partners are here. Very close friends are here. I have a list to acknowledge each and every one of them, but it just doesn't seem like that's the right thing to do right now. Instead, I'd just like to say briefly that this movie gives me an extra burst of hope, because I think what the directors and this incredible crew have done is to really effectively tell the story of how much hope there is for transforming our energy system, becoming more efficient, changing our way of thinking. We're going to win this. We're going to win this. No one can stop it. There is a remaining question as to how quickly we will win it. Regrettably, damage has been done. But from the very start of this movement, the reality has been the maximum that's politically feasible has fallen short of the minimum the scientists tell us is necessary to save the climate balance according to what the laws of physics dictate. But what do you do when you're faced with a gap like that? It was there at the beginning, and it's still there. One option is to feel despair. But despair ultimately is just another form of denial. The other option is to expand the limits of what is politically possible. That mayor in Georgetown, Texas, is a prime example of something that is happening all over the world now, and it's happening in many parts of the United States. Contracts for electricity from solar cells are now being signed for a price per kilowatt hour that is less than half the price of electricity from burning coal. That's not true everywhere yet, but it is true in an increasing number of places. Business leaders are now recognizing this. Investors are recognizing this. My partners in Generation Investment Management, David Blood and his wife Beth are here, and Colin LeDuc, who was on the phone with me from Paris, and his wife Lisa, Peter Knight and his wife Gail. We have seen a dramatic shift in the business and investment community. I came here actually just a few hours ago. I landed from Davos, and the World Economic Forum, for the second year in a row, has said the climate crisis is the #1 threat to the global economy. They had more meetings and more plenary sessions and more activism on climate there than ever. And to walk into a room with the CEOs of Fortune 100 companies and heads of state from nations around the world, and they're talking about how we can speed up this transformation of our global civilization. We're getting there. We're getting there. The Climate Reality Project, Ken Berlin, the head of our Climate Reality Project, is here, and many of the key people with Climate Reality are here. And we are only one organization working day and night on this. But we want this movie to recruit others. And I owe a great debt to Davis Guggenheim and the producers of the first movie for getting this whole thing started. And Laurie David recommended, along with the others, that when this movie comes out, we're going to, in theaters, we're going to give everyone who comes to see this movie the means to give a 10-minute presentation in their own communities. A book will be published the same day the movie premieres in the theaters with a DVD in the book. That you saw at the end, all these 10,000 trainees who are out there giving slideshows every single day. There are going to be many tens of thousands more. But every single one of us, we have to do more. We're at a time in world history where there's unrest, and it's a moment of decision. Not unlike 70 years ago. At the end of World War II, George Marshall, who was one of our U.S. generals who won that war, became Secretary of State, authored the Marshall Plan. He surveyed the damage that had been done, and we had 2 world wars come out of Europe and Northeast Asia. He said, now is a time to steer by the stars and not by the lights of each passing ship. And we set a course to try to build a more stable, principle-based order, which is now under challenge. But we are going to prevail. I won't give all the evidence of why I'm so confident, but I am. And for those who have any doubt, just remember there are so many others who are yearning to do the right thing and to see the right outcome. Well, I'm so grateful to all of you for coming to see this. If anybody doubts that we have the capacity and the will to act, just always remember that the will to act is itself a renewable resource. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to do some.
I had. Are we on? Am I on? I had questions for you, but you answered every question I had. I think it's your way. I'm pretty getting clear on that now. Anything else? Do you want to say anything, directors? Any last words from Bonni or John?
Last words?
Yeah.
I actually forgot to
Step up
thank
into the light, you guys. Come on. There we go.
I forgot to thank somebody else who's in the audience. It's extremely important to this film, Megan Colligan from Paramount, who championed the first film all the way through and has come on board to take this one out in the world, and we couldn't be happier to
One question, Truth to Power, from anybody. Why that title? What more specific on that? Truth to Power.
Well, it has its historical meaning, the Quaker meaning, right? Taking truth to the corridors of power that many civil rights movements have taken on and done themselves, but the double entendre, if you will, for this film is power is electricity, and it's how we power our world. So we're bringing Al's truth to that place. That's how John and I have thought about it. Cool. And Diane.
If I could add to what Bonni is saying, I think there's a third level of meaning to it, and I think of Jeff Skoll when I say this. His inspiration in life was Mahatma Gandhi, and a long time ago he was inspired by the great movie about Mahatma Gandhi. He actually went to Israel and the West Bank and the Palestinian territories and had it translated and gathered together groups of Israelis and Palestinians and showed that movie. And Mahatma Gandhi is famous for many sayings, you must be the change you wish to see in the world, but probably the most important teaching of Gandhi's was around what he called, if I pronounce it correctly, Jeff, satyagraha, which they say is best translated into English as truth force. And I think that all of us have felt in our own lives that when you really have that feeling of what is more likely than not to be true, and you sink into it and you understand that that's true, that has a force of its own. And so I think it operates at all those levels.
From you, John, you're okay?
Well, the truth is that An Inconvenient Truth is kind of a hard title to follow up on. And we heard all the creation stories of how this title came to be, and it's, of course, a quote from the original film where Al says it's an inconvenient truth, all this information that he presents. And so we always felt like we have to find the perfect quote from this film to match up to that. And at one point we were literally transcribing the finished film, trying to figure out just the right one. And of course, one of the backdrops of many in the film was the election of 2016. And the idea of going back to the original meaning of speaking truth to power just became all the more important, of course, in the latter days of the project as the election happened. And for all those reasons, plus the symbolic reasons, it just felt like it should be Al's words, and it should have multiple meanings, and ultimately it should be about standing up and speaking the truth, because after all, that still does mean something, right?
Yeah. So, and it's been 10 years since the original Inconvenient Truth. When did we know that there was going to be a sequel? When did that start? I was going to say, it's probably a participant.
Thank you very much. And first off, thanks to everybody for the great support of Sundance over the years. When we first premiered An Inconvenient Truth 11 years ago, January, with an audience, we had no idea what we would unleash. And here we are again, and the first film with Al's incredible fortitude and energy spurred a global conversation, and yet things in the public domain didn't seem to change very much. But over the years, we would talk about doing a sequel, and Al would be, well, it's not quite the time yet, but during this period, and this is for me the other meaning of truth to power, and I think was the key to unlocking Al's agreement to be a punching bag yet again for the world of climate, is that in fact, in the real world, power and its costs, renewable energy, is something that everybody can agree on. Safer, it's cleaner, everybody likes clean air, clean water, inexpensive, it's secure, you don't have an Exxon Valdez or a Deepwater Horizon. And a year and a half ago, when Al and I sat in an office, a participant, and thought, well, what do we do next? We thought, well, it's almost 10 years, and isn't that the permission? Isn't that the time to reflect on these 10 years and what has actually happened, and what don't people know? And you've seen in the film that things are bad and as worse as one could have predicted, but in fact, the solutions are out there. And that, I think, was the reason Al agreed that it was time to do the sequel and get this movement going.
Jeff is very persuasive. And when we decided that, both of us walked out of his office and we said, Diane! And Diane Weyermann, who was partly trained here at Sundance, by the way, has been absolutely amazing.
No, she
for
trained us.
both movies.
She trained us.
And this one is her baby as well.
I don't know, I know we have some, I'm just going to ask that one right there. Shout it out, though. She wanted to know what the sense was going up that elevator in Trump Tower.
Yeah, well, we'll know soon enough.
We'll be taking no more questions from the audience after this.
I've tried to predict the confidence of that conversation in case I need to have some more. But it's not the last conversation. And I will tell you, over the years, there have been a lot of people who've started out as deniers and who have changed over time. Whether he will or not remains to be seen. Been a lot of different statements. I'm not going to go into any of the specifics of that conversation out of respect for that. I went for 8 years as vice president, never divulging private conversations with President Clinton, and I'm more comfortable not sort of giving you a readout of the specifics. 2 days after that meeting, he appointed someone to head the EPA that I don't think should be heading the EPA, but this story has many chapters yet to unfold here. And the business community, let me come back to this. My friend and partner Brooke Byers at Kleiner Perkins is here. Alongside Generation, there have been investments that played a tremendous role in producing this cost down curve. And now what you're seeing is common sense, hard-nosed business decisions based on real numbers that tell the decision makers they're going to make more money if they shift to solar and wind and efficiency and batteries and sustainable agriculture and sustainable forestry. The barriers are political. The directors did such a great job in sort of telling that part of the story. We're in a real battle here. And it's a challenge for all of us to really comprehend how high the stakes are. I mean, it's beyond any scale that we're used to thinking about. Don't worry, I'm not going to go too far down that road, but really, we have to really step back, take a deep breath, and say, this is not a political issue. It's a moral issue. It's an ethical issue. It's a spiritual issue. Who are we? Who are we? Are we a pathetic, self-interested, short-sighted species whose run on the planet will soon be over because we destroyed ourselves? I refuse to believe that. We have limitations and we have short-term motivations, and We all know that, but we also have something else inside of us. We have the capacity to rise above our limitations. Now, whether or not whether or not Donald Trump, inaugurated tomorrow, will take the kind of approach that continues this progress, we'll have to see. But let me reiterate, no one person can stop this. It's too big now. We are shifting. We are going to win this.
Well, I think we're going to end on that. I'm going to end on not a question, but a request from you. It's going to be a while before this film comes out, a couple of months at least, right? You have a responsibility, too, to say that you saw this at Sundance, tweet your friends. We are all part of this together. So when these films open, and documentaries don't have it that easy in the box office, it takes people like you to get the groundswell to keep these in theaters, get more people to see them. I'm putting that on you, and that's how we're going to close this.
Thank you.
Thank you.